Dom and Phil are back again, and this time they are making a really big call. They are saying that XRP could reach $1,000 one day. In this video, we are going to watch their brand new interview where they talk about this exact price target. After we listen to what they said, I will share my own honest thoughts about whether this is possible or not. This idea of XRP hitting $1,000 gets mentioned a lot inside the XRP community. People get excited about it, but many others think it is just a crazy dream. Today, I do not want to just throw out a big number and hope for the best. Instead, we are going to look at it carefully. We will compare it to other investments that grew a lot in the past. We will try to understand what this much growth would really mean. Is this some massive pipe dream that can never happen? Or do we have real examples from history that show big appreciation like this is possible? Let's find out together. Guys, before we start, I want to say a big thank you. You all support this channel so much with your likes, comments, and subscriptions. It really means a lot to me. Thank you to every single person who watches, likes, and subscribes. With that said, let's jump right into the video. I hope you enjoy the content and learn something new today. So let's get started. As you probably guessed, we are going to play the new interview with Dom and Phil right away. They are calling for $1,000 XRP, and I have a lot of thoughts about it. But first, I want you to hear their own words directly. We will watch the clip, and then we will talk about it together afterwards. So here we go, and let's play the video. So that was the clip from the interview. Now let's take a moment to think about it. There are a few important things we should look at carefully. First of all, the people who were interviewing Dom and Phil seemed to be against XRP from the start. They sounded very negative. They said that even $10 is never going to happen. I have to be honest. I do not understand how someone can say that with confidence. If you do not think XRP can even reach $10, you must have a super negative view of the entire cryptocurrency market. Think about it. If XRP just continues to grow slowly the way it has grown since it was created many years ago, it would already pass $10 without any big miracles. So saying $10 is impossible sounds like you believe the whole crypto world is going to disappear and never grow again. That idea feels really extreme to me. It feels like you would have to believe that crypto has no future at all. And that is something I think is very unlikely. Now let's move to the really interesting part that Dom talked about. A lot of people say a $100 trillion market cap for XRP is completely unrealistic. They laugh at the idea and call it impossible. But when you look deeper, there is actually nothing that proves those big numbers are impossible. I want to show you some simple facts and examples, so this becomes clear and easy to understand. Please remember, I am not saying we know for sure that XRP will hit $1,000. No one can promise that with certainty. What I'm saying is that crazy growth like this has happened before in other assets, and at the time, people thought those things were just as impossible. History shows us that big surprises can happen when something truly useful gets adopted by the world. Even David Schwartz, who is one of the main creators of the XRP ledger, has said something important. He said he would never tell people that XRP cannot go over $1,000. Why? Because even he did not think XRP could reach the prices it has already reached today. The growth so far has already been much bigger than what many people expected in the early days. That alone should make us careful before we say impossible. Let's look at a simple example that most people know, the Nvidia company. If you look at the old price chart of Nvidia stock, you will see something amazing. A long time ago, in the very early days, Nvidia shares were trading for only about 4 cents or 20 cents. That is super cheap. Cheaper than a candy bar. Today, Nvidia stock is trading around $180 to $200 per share, and the whole company is worth more than $4 trillion. Now imagine this. If you went back to the year 2000 and told someone, one day Nvidia is going to be a $4 trillion company, they would probably laugh at you and say you are dreaming. Back then, $4 trillion was an enormous number. It was many times bigger than the biggest companies on Earth at that time. The biggest companies then were mostly oil companies that provided energy to the whole world. People would say, how can a company that makes computer chips become bigger than the entire oil industry that powers cars, planes, and factories? At that time, almost no one understood how important artificial intelligence and graphics chips would become. Only a few smart early fans saw the potential of GPUs for gaming and later for AI. They could not imagine that one day this technology would change the world so much that the company would be worth trillions. Saying Nvidia would be worth more than the energy sector, which is basically the lifeblood of the global economy, would have sounded completely crazy. It would have felt as wild as saying today that XRP can go to $1,000. But guess what happened? Nvidia did exactly that. It grew from 4 cents all the way up. The people who believed in the power of artificial intelligence turned out to be right. The huge value did not come just from random speculation. It came because Nvidia solved a real big problem. They helped create technology that the world now needs for AI, gaming, data centers, and many other things. The market gave it a giant valuation because the invention was that important. Here is the key lesson. If NVIDIA had never succeeded in making useful technology for artificial intelligence, none of this growth would have happened. The price would have stayed low. The big valuation only came because the company created something new that brought real value to humanity. It opened up a whole new sector that did not exist before. You might be thinking, okay, but NVIDIA is a very special case. It is one of the best success stories in history. We cannot compare everything to it. That is a fair point. So let me give you another simpler example that is not even about high-tech computers. Let's talk about Monster Energy drink. Monster Beverage Company was trading as low as 4 cents per share back in 2002. Today, the stock is worth around $70 to $75. That is still massive growth. If you had invested a small amount back then, it could have turned into a fortune. In the year 2000, if someone said Monster Energy would become a $74 billion business, people would have thought they were joking. At that time, $74 billion was close to the size of some of the biggest banks in the world. It sounded completely insane, but it happened anyway. These examples teach us something important. Market cap numbers and price targets that look impossible today have become real in the past. People who only look at current market caps and say, this cannot happen, are missing the bigger picture. They forget that value comes from what the asset actually does for the world, not from some fixed limit. Look at Dogecoin right now as another funny example. Dogecoin is basically a meme coin. It started as a joke and does not have a big serious use case like XRP. Yet its total market value is already bigger than many real businesses in the United States. If a joke coin can reach that level, then saying XRP cannot reach a very high valuation does not make much sense. Of course, for XRP to reach $1,000 or a $100 trillion market cap, it has to actually succeed in a big way. It cannot just stay as it is. XRP needs to become a major tool for moving money around the world quickly and cheaply. It needs to become a neutral liquidity source that banks, businesses, and countries use every day for international payments. It has to solve real problems in the global financial system that are expensive and slow today. If that big adoption does not happen, then yes, the price will not go that high. But if the thesis is correct and XRP becomes a staple part of the financial system, like oil or electricity is for the economy, then putting a small limit on its value does not make sense. We are talking about something that could help the entire world move money faster and cheaper. Trying to say it can only be worth a few $1 trillion when it solves such a huge global problem feels wrong. If you believe that crypto as a whole is just a small niche thing that will never become truly important, then it is okay to say you do not expect big prices. But you cannot just cap the upside with an arbitrary number like market cap cannot be more than this. That is not how real innovation works. History is full of examples where new technologies grew way beyond what anyone thought was possible. Right now, we are still very early in the crypto story. If you compare it to the adoption of the internet, we are probably back in the 1990s or early 2000s. That was when the internet was new and most people did not understand it yet. Many companies that later became huge were still small and cheap. Looking at the old NVIDIA chart, we are right at the part where the stock was only 4 cents or 8 cents. There was still hundreds of times more growth left. We do not have a crystal ball. No one knows exactly what will happen in the future. But if our basic idea about XRP is correct, that it can become the main way to provide liquidity for global finance, then there is no logical reason to put a tiny ceiling on the price. The value could be much larger than anyone imagines today. Think about what the world would look like if we move toward a system where decentralized and neutral digital money becomes more important than old centralized fiat currencies. In that kind of future, an asset like XRP that helps settle payments instantly across borders could have enormous value. No one would have been able to predict the exact number in advance, just like no one predicted NVIDIA's exact valuation. But for all of this to happen, real adoption is needed. Adoption is not automatic or easy. It takes time, regulation, building trust, and many companies and governments choosing to use the technology. It is challenging, but it is definitely not impossible. We have seen similar adoption curves with the internet, smartphones, and other big technologies. XRP and Ripple are not just building another simple messaging app or regular software program. They are trying to solve a real problem that has existed for decades: how to move money across countries quickly, cheaply, and without too many middlemen taking big fees. If they succeed, the value created could be bigger than what many of today's largest companies provide. We already have companies like NVIDIA worth over $4 trillion. So a much larger valuation for something that powers the global financial rails is not crazy if the world adopts it widely. We just need to see that mass adoption happen step by step. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through. I hope it helped you understand the discussion around $1,000 XRP in a clearer and simpler way. It is okay to have different opinions. Some people are very bullish, some are skeptical, and that is normal in any investment. The important thing is to learn, stay patient, and make decisions based on your own research. For now, pickle out.